the store was just weird. Like I said, a lot of weird characters. But again, there was a lot of networking involved there, and that's before she closed the store down, she was going to go to Haiti. And then, my grandmother died and stuff, and she had to close the store down. She just couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford the rent. She wasn't making any money. The partner had left off because she was trying to get the partner's daughter in psychotherapy for being molested. It was just absolutely insanity. But trying to think where I want to go with this. I guess we'll sort of end the video here with the being stalked by the Voodoo cult. So, and then I do want to tell you about a couple of things that go on in these religions that I think are really creepy. All right, and then we'll end the video. My mom got invited by a group of people to get a higher initiation in Santeria, but she had to go to Haiti to do it because there was this big Santero king down there that, I don't know, maybe they crack 20 chickens over there. Maybe they crack a whole cow over your head down there. I have no idea. But it really caused a lot of problems because my dad knew how dangerous this idea was, and my dad did not want her to go to Haiti. My dad was very sort of, let my mom do whatever she wants to some extent, but this is where he really put his foot down. And it caused problems because my mom, she saw it as he was stopping her from progressing. She was stopping her spiritual development. She was stopping her, ascension into these sort of occultic social circles and stuff. And so she didn't end up going to Haiti, but a couple of her followers sort of turned on her, and they did end up going to Haiti. And those people, because they had there was a lot of bad blood there between my mom and these couple of people. One of them was a Jewish dude named David, okay? And he, essentially, what we think is that they had people stalking our house for months trying to cast evil spells. For instance, one time I saw this very large, tall Haitian man, and I was home by myself. He walked into our yard, dropped what's called a veve down on the ground and did some sort of spell and then left, okay? And what a veve is it's a symbol that's written on a piece of cloth or a paper, but it's basically it's just a hex. It's a curse, which is interesting because all my grandparents ended up dying shortly after all this. My parents were getting a divorce. They didn't end up going through with it. They got back together a few years later, but they were getting separated. This all happened after my parents had sort of, or after all my grandparents had died. Then we had a house fire. This is the really weird thing. While we were being stalked by this Haitian voodoo cult, because we saw literally caravans riding by our house. I saw the tall Haitian man come into our yard, drop the veve. Just numerous things like this had happened. We had a house fire. Right? My dad was living in an apartment by himself. My mom and my dad were having huge problems. My mom lost it because she lost her mom. My dad was kind of sad because he lost his grandparents. There was even one Christmas where my mom wouldn't even let us go and see our dad on Christmas. It was crazy. But the house fire was just really weird. Now, at the time, me and my brother were getting pretty heavy into the cult stuff, right? I was sort of going more I guess you'd call it the New Age Christian Buddhist route, and my brother really took a liking to the Native American side of things, which was kind of weird, but my brother literally used to dress up like Sully from Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, and he would go to school. He would basically make a tomahawk out of this, he would take a paint chipper, put it on a stick, duct tape it together, and carry it. He would put dirt all over his clothes to make it look like he's living out there in the mountains in the wild west of Colorado, and he would go to school like that. It got to a point where the teachers called and were like, listen, we can't have Andrew come to school with dirt all over his clothes. You got to do something about this. But my mom was a free spirit, and she she supported anything that any ideas her kids came up with, so it was hard for her to say no. And she was so, kind of just spiritually unstable at the time that, it was hard for her to really, reel us in. But my brother was practicing a lot of weird, Native American kind of stuff, and he got linked up with this, Native American dude that owned this Native American shop, and like my brother just got really into this. He used to play the Native American flute, and he was really, really good on the Native American flute. He had like 2 or 3 of them. He got really, really good at that. But, you know, my brother's room was just full of this stuff, and the house fire happened in my brother's room. They don't know if it was electrical or if it was a candle that maybe my brother left running in there, because, yeah, we used to have candles burning all throughout the house. Crazy stuff, right? But make a long story short, we had a house fire, which this happened right before I went to high school. I was in 8th grade, at the very end of my 8th grade. I ended up just kind of dropping out of 8th grade, did some summer school or whatever so I could go to high school, and I was damaged by that point. You know, most of you know I have a really bad drug problem that started about the age of 13, 14. So I went into high school very damaged, very traumatized from just everything that had happened. Not just the you know, all the stuff my mom did, but the house fire, the being stalked by the Haitian Voodoo cult, you know, seeing my mom do all this weird shit like putting centipedes in mailboxes. It was just absolutely crazy. So by the time I got to high school, I was just completely damaged, completely broken down. I just wanted to do drugs. I wanted to get rid of any spiritual abilities that I had developed. I used to be able to see auras, right? Like I could literally see trails coming off of people's arms, like whether they were light trails or dark trails. I could tell this shit. And, you know, I used to really be in tune with like spirits and stuff. I swear to God, it was Christmas Eve at the Unitarian Universalist Church, and me, my brother, and my mom, we saw a ghost dog in the church. It was really weird. But, you know, I used to be really sort of in tune to that kind of stuff. And I just wanted, by the time I got to high school, I wanted to forget all about this. I wanted to just drop out of school, become a rock star, and just do drugs. And that's what I did to the time I was about, you know, 25 years old. So I can't help but wonder if maybe some of the occult stuff in my upbringing kind of damaged me. I can't help but wonder if there really was some sort of spiritual hex that was put on my family that kind of fucked me up. But I've given you a lot here, so I'm open to interpretations as to what may have happened. Leave a comment down below, and make sure to give this video a big fat like. Also, if you want more story times like this, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell somewhere down there for notifications. So let me just talk about 2 more things that I think are sort of essential, just so that I can really tie this picture for you, or paint this picture for you. A couple of things that my mom never really was into, but that she knew about, and she was actually concerned that one of these things was coming for us. So let's start with the concept of prindapots. This is something that my mom had very good knowledge of, and she knew that her Santero that initiated her in Miami, she knew that he had a prindapot in his house. So what's a prindapot? Well, and by the way, I completely skipped the story about going down to New York City to be initiated into a voodoo cult by this woman named Mummy. Yeah, her name was Mummy. Creepy as fuck. Really fucking weird, creepy black African woman. Not that black African women are creepy, but this one happened to be super creepy. It was like in this basement, and the whole fucking neighborhood was involved. The cops were involved. There was literally cops at this fucking voodoo ceremony that we went to. Very fucking weird. Maybe I'll save that for another time. Or maybe I'll tell it at the end here real quick. But prindapots are basically where grave diggers, the voodoo priests or Santeria priests, they pay grave diggers, grave robbers, to go and get human bones. And they put human bones in a big black cauldron, and then put all kinds of other stuff in there, probably rotten chicken corpses and Florida water and all kinds of shit in there. But prindapots are basically a magic spell. And it's like a spell of, it's kind of like the blowfish thing, where it's like, I think it has something to do with like enslaving your followers and stuff. My mom never had one, but she told us stories about, she saw in Miami, her Santero that initiated her, there were these 2 big guard dogs in this shed out in the backyard. And she asked, she was like, well, what's out there? And so the Santero took her to go look at this. And he explained to her, you know, this is a prindapot. And yes, those are real bones. Those are real human bones from a grave. And, I think that did kind of freak out my mom. At some point in time, she ended up kind of breaking off from that cult and starting her own cult in Syracuse, like I said. But that's one of the creepiest things that she ever told us. But there was another thing, too, the concept of bakas, all right? Now, what a baka is basically a three-headed demon that knocks on your door 3 times at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And so when we were being stalked by this Haitian voodoo cult, my mom kind of went into we all sort of went into a psychosis. And she was very concerned that there were going to be bakas showing up at the house. And she explained to us that if you ever hear a knock at the door 3 times, do not answer it. Go upstairs and call me and I'll deal with it. I guess she was going to take on the baka. And the baka was a 3-headed demon. There would be, I think there was like a dog head, maybe a goat head, and some other kind of head. But it's like a 3-headed monstrous demonic voodoo demon. And we were legit worried that shit was going to show up at our house, because of this fucking Haitian voodoo cult that was stalking us. Alright? So, let me end the video with the New York story. So, this was actually a little after my mom lost the store. She sort of left the Santeria religion. Her followers disbanded, whatever. But she got hooked up because so when she had the store, she met a woman named Megan. Alright? Kind of like, I want to say maybe like Jamaican. But anyway, she moved from Syracuse and moved to Queens. Megan did. But my mom was still friends with her. And so we would go, and Megan had a husband and kids and stuff. We would go see Megan in New York City. And so my mom, through like networking through this woman, she gets involved with another voodoo cult in New York City. And this voodoo cult was run by a woman named Mummy. Alright, very, very creepy, right? Mummy. And I remember descending down into the basement of this person's house. And there were just the biggest voodoo altars that I'd ever seen. And so we ended up staying a weekend there so that my mom could get initiated. And, consider this. My brother's like 11. I'm 12. We stay up all night. Probably like Saturday or Sunday night, whatever. And there's this big voodoo ceremony in the basement of this, Mummy's house. There were New York City police officers down there. There were doctors down there. Like, people of high society in New York City were down here. And, my mom, I think, got kind of, wrapped up in that because, she, there was a form of, a tinge of elitism to it, right? She really felt like she was I'm, this is, what we do. This is what sophisticated people do. We practice voodoo, right? And, so I just remember staying up all night. I've seen, there's this ritual where they allow spirits to possess them. I've seen people chew glass. I've seen people walk on fire. I've seen people eat fire. I've seen people drink entire bottles of, Jamaican rum and shit like that. I saw all of that in one night. Very weird. Overall we had a decent trip. I could have done without the voodoo ceremony, but we stayed, I think, with Megan, and we watched Harry Potter with Megan's kids, 2 little, or maybe 3 black girls. Mummy's daughter was actually pretty hot, though. She was probably 18, 19, 20 at the time. Black African, Haitian, actually. They were Haitian. And I think that's why because my mom never got to go to Haiti to do that ritual, so I think she was attracted to the fact that these were straight Haitian voodoo queens down there. But that is, that's my experience growing up in the occult. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section and down below. Like I said, please do give this video a big fat like, subscribe to the